Hi, welcome to the channel. This is Peter Wright. I am joined today by Russ Keller. Hey, Russ, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Peter.
All right, so what we are going to talk about today is there's been some big changes in medical collections or the way that credit bureaus report medical collections. So we're going to chat about that a little bit because that's coming up here very, very soon, right?
Yes, the first changes are supposed to take effect July 1st of this year.
Okay, because currently medical collections, everybody has a medical collection, right? You go to the doctor.
Well, not everybody, but almost.
Right. Well, there's actually 23 million Americans currently have a medical collection, which is a big number. And out of that 23 million Americans, 16 million of them have a medical collection over $1,000. That's going to impact your credit and your credit score, right?
Yes, it will. And take a look at the inverse of that number. That means there's a lot of really small ones out there that are having a big impact on the credit score as well.
Well, if you think about it, it's not the amount of the collection, it's the action of having a collection. It could be $1, it could be $10,000. It still impacts your credit in the same way, right?
Yes, it really depends more on how recent it is. On the date of last activity is actually the date that we look at for that.
Right. And those medical collections can stay on your credit report for a long time, 7 years.
Yes, sir, they can, and have an impact on your score for that long.
All right, so let's talk about the changes because this is pretty exciting stuff.
Well, yeah, the bureaus, the first question is who's doing the changes? The credit bureaus are doing it themselves. So they got together, they decided how they're going to report collectively, how they're going to report medical collections.
Okay.
And so the first thing is that medical collections starting July 1st of this year, they're saying will not appear on the credit report for 1 year. Their idea is to have everybody get a chance to work out that bill with the medical care provider before it hits the credit report. That's a good thing. That makes sure that the medical care provider actually does their due diligence and makes a good effort at getting a bill to somebody's mailbox.
Right.
I'm all for that. That's absolutely good. The second thing that they're saying is that medical collections, when they are paid starting July 1st of this year, that those will come off the credit report automatically. And that's another good thing because let's face it, and even they make the point of this, a medical collection is oftentimes a surprise to people. It's not like they overspent on their Visa card. It is a surprise it's a surprise bill, a collection that really has a big impact on their score. It can prevent them from housing, from jobs and other things because it's on the report. So that's a good thing that it comes off the report once it's handled. And then the other thing that they're proposing is that starting by July 1st of next year, 2023, that they will not report any medical collections under $500. Well, that's a big chunk of them. And so that means that, again, the medical care provider, the collector has to work it out with the customer, not just damage their credit report. Like you said, the dollar, I've seen them for $1. I've seen them for $17.
Right.
And they have a big impact on the score. The problem we have here with this is that it's not necessarily durable. It's not going to stay because the credit bureaus can put it on as easily as they take it off. It's not a law, it's not a regulation, and they're doing it voluntarily. Well, that's good, but that means if they don't do it, they do it for me and they don't do it for you, Peter, you can't enforce it. It's not a law, it's not a regulation. They can pick and choose if they decide to do that at some point.
So although these are big changes and they're exciting changes, and you had said something earlier, normally a medical collection usually is a surprise. And the reason for that is most people have healthcare insurance and they think maybe their coverage paid for the hospital visit or the copay or whatever it is. Sometimes that slips through the nets. Nobody pays for it. And that's when the collection usually appears, right?
Yes, it's when we go into the hospital, the urgent care, or have outpatient surgery, we can wind up with some additional bills that we didn't realize. We paid the medical facility and we didn't realize that there was an anesthesiologist, or there was some lab work that was done, or an x-ray that was done, and those
Right.
appear in separate bills for smaller amounts, and they hit our credit report. And as you pointed out earlier, it's not the dollar amount. Yes, the big bill to the hospital can affect your score, but the $150 bill for a lab report has a big impact as well.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about your second point here. You had said that this is a voluntary removal of these collections. So what happens if they don't follow the rules and these collections do find a way onto your credit report?
Well, there's no teeth in it. There's no way to enforce it.
Okay.
And
no regulation. So this is just a voluntary thing, right?
right. And if you take a look at the director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, he's exactly concerned about this because it is not enforceable. It's not durable. They can change their mind whenever they want to. And actually, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's concern is that the credit reporting system, his words, not mine, is being weaponized as a tool to coerce people to pay bills they may not even owe. So, okay, they'll take it off your report if you pay a bill that you don't owe. Well, that's not necessarily that good.
Right, right. So what happens when the rules are not followed here? You know, I mean, I think this is a big step in the right direction, and I like the direction of where this is heading. But collection accounts could still creep onto your credit report, regardless of what's being said by Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. So what happens then?
Well, it's not enforceable. You can't make them do it because they're doing it voluntarily. Some might think, and I've read some things where people think that there is some legislation currently in Washington doing these exact things. And the bureaus are doing it voluntarily before the legislation hits that they're locked into. So if that legislation doesn't go through and they change their mind, they change their mind.
Okay. And I guess consumers can always dispute for removal, just like you can do currently, correct?
Yeah, yes, you can. And many collectors will work with us and will delete things when we validate. And if they can validate it, prove that the person owes it, they'll take it off the credit report for payment. If they can't validate it, many of them will just delete it. It's not really a big fight. Some collectors are the opposite. They will fight all the way. But yeah, it's good news. I like the direction, but we have to understand that the three credit bureaus, TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax, have spent a lot of money over many years to not do what they just said they're going to do. So right. Some of us are cautiously optimistic, but did these guys get a change of heart all of a sudden last month? Why was that?
Yeah, good points. I'm excited about it. I think it's a step in the right direction. I think these are significant changes, and certainly everything is moving in the direction that's going to help the consumer, which I think is a good thing. Time will tell how this works, and yes. After July 1st, we'll start to see how this is all being implemented and see how this goes, right?
Yes. There's one other question here too, because they have not stated whether this is retroactive or not. So things that are currently on the report, are they going to stay on the report? Or are they just not going, are they going to change things for things that are put on July 1? They haven't said. And there's the problem with something like this. There's no force of law. There's no way to enforce this.
Right, right. Well, again, let's wait until July 1st. We'll see how all this stuff is implemented. Again, I think for them to go back and eradicate everything that's done in the past is going to be way too big of a bite out of someone's time and effort, because literally what did we say earlier? 23 million Americans have a medical collection account. So that's a lot to go back and eradicate. I don't think that's going to happen personally. But again, we'll see what happens.
We don't know.
Yeah.
We just don't know. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens in July. I can't wait to see my first credit reports I look at in July.
Right. Hey, we really
Well,
appreciate you joining us today on the channel. If you enjoyed the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, share this if you find the information interesting. And Russ and I are going to do this on a regular basis and just talk about different credit topics. And if you have a topic that you would like us to address, please put that in the comments below and we will certainly have a look at that for you. Again, thanks for joining us today. Russ, I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
And hey, July 1st is just a couple months away, so we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Can't wait.
All right. Thanks again.
Thanks.